Roll it
Hey
back.
guys, welcome to today's episode of Rant. I'm your host, Leonyx. This is your weekly dose of esports. I'm joined by the man, Scarizard, known on the forums. I was going to say that, but your name is Patrick Scarbroni.
Yeah, Patrick
Scarbitch.
Scarbiner. Yeah.
That one, I like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one the most.
We could go for it. Hello. Thank you for having me on this couch with
right.
these stuffed animals.
Yeah, me entering the scene, I've seen
Sure.
your name many, many times. Forums, Reddit, just everywhere.
Internet.
Internet at the time. And
Sure.
I was really, interested because I've always seen your name, and then eventually I got into the scene, and then I met you for the first time.
We did meet.
I've seen I put a face to the name eventually.
Yes.
So please tell me, what do you do at Riot?
Well,
I've seen you everywhere. So
Okay,
please,
well,
educate me.
all right. Well, apparently, because you've seen me everywhere, but never once found out what it is that I do. That's
Exactly.
rude. I would ask someone the first time, Rob. And
My
personally-
bad. Well, I'm
No, it's
asking
fine.
you now.
No,
It's
well,
better
you know
late
what?
than
you
never.
Know what? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'll tell you. No. So I started off as a designer, was hired as a designer in 2012. Probably the first 2 years, I was helping make champions. So I worked with the teams that did Lucian, Vel'Koz, Kha'Zix, Zed, those. Then I helped do some reworks for like Karma and Garen. Worked a lot with the balance team on just constantly tinkering and tuning and changing things over seasons. And then I went to work on the new Summoner's Rift. So I spent about a year on that with like the whole super big team and everything that was going on behind the scenes. And then right as that was ending, I kind of shifted over into a community role, but I still work for design. So what I do now is Pwith and I kind of call it design communications. So, things like hosting and producing the rundowns, right? We write the patch notes, right? We are kind of designing a bunch of other projects and launching those that is all about getting our designers to engage with the community and also getting the community interested and understanding the context behind not just design changes as they come, like patch notes, but also, the thought processes and kind of like what might happen in the future.
Okay, so Jack,
Super
you just
easy
do
answer.
everything
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that point.
Not everything. There's so much other stuff that goes on. Like engineers are legends. Like that's shout outs to engineers. Any of you that are out there. The artists that we have are dope. I mean, even people at every part of the company do a lot of work that kind of goes behind the scenes.
Okay.
So I think it's easy to look at like people in esports or people in design and be like, those are the guys, right? But it's like we're like the dumb vain tip of the stupid iceberg that is the games industry.
Oh, you've got to give more credit to yourself for saying your name everywhere. You're in the community. If you're part of the community,
Maybe.
we know who you are. But okay, I talk about your name a lot.
Sure.
Where does it come from?
So
Scarizard, Charizard.
Yeah, I mean Charizard. I used to be a professional Pokemon player back in 2007.
You can be a professional Pokemon player.
Yeah, dog.
Is that considered an esport?
Man, dude,
Does
I
not-
do
because,
not know anymore.
I just don't know at this point. There's Super Smash Brothers. It just
Yeah, well, so
doesn't
way
even consider
back in the
them
day,
an esport.
These days, I think it might be like it was Apex. It's at like a lot of tournaments. There's a lot of people who play. They play like a doubles format, but this is in like 2007 when Diamond and Pearl came out. It's like 4th gen, and I like retired shortly after, but I still worked on like the forums and stuff as like a trainer and also like a moderator for the Pokemon community. And so it was such a big part of my life that when I got hired, I was like, okay, I want something that is going to reflect that. And so my last name is Scarborough. Charizard is an iconic Pokemon. Combine the two, and there you go.
Okay, so you're a gamer, like all the other viewers the 2 viewers that watch my show.
Yeah, I mean, Michael and Alex.
Well, no, I was gonna say one of them being my mom, and
Is your mom a gamer?
yeah,
Wow, that's super cool, actually.
she's
Okay.
like a stereotypical.
Yeah, so
like,
so
Asian
we are
woman.
all gamers. We're in the game
Yeah.
zone, game space.
But where does that put you on the road to finding out about League and then eventually working at Riot?
Right. So, man, I'll try and run through this quickly. It's kind of a long story.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were like, oh, I wanted a short answer.
Yeah,
This
what
is
the
gonna be terrible. No. So I was a senior in high school in 2009. And I was getting ready to drop out because I wasn't really excited about school. It wasn't really something that I wanted to do. And I had been playing games my entire life. I had like every console up to that point that had ever come out. Like we had the whole N64, PS2 or Xbox era, and or PlayStation, everything.
that's
just
the
like
best era.
everything forever,
Yeah.
right? And then go on next gen with the PS2, GameCube, everything would just keep going up. We had it all. Every good game that ever got like a high score, I played. It was a big deal, a big fan. And then I knew when I was going to leave home after having dropped out, I was like, well, I'm going to go off to like Washington. I'm going to like Washington State because I'm from Alabama. So it was like go literally like across the entire country and stuff.
Yeah.
And I knew I'd be traveling a lot. So I was like, what games can I take with me? And someone had introduced me to League of Legends, and it was this like blocky piece of shit that like looked like hot garbage, but it seemed kind of fun. So I was like, all right, I tried it out on my laptop. It seemed like it was okay. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll mess around with this game. I'll take that with me. And then what that turned into is as I like couch surfed over like the next couple of years, I would like stay with people and like teach them how to play League of Legends. And that would kind of be like how I would sleep on their couch and stuff. I'd be like, what, do you want to learn how to play Ashe? I'm super great at Ashe. I'll teach you how to play Ashe. And then I would like in the night like look up guides for Ashe and be like, yeah, I totally know everything about it.
Oh
That's
yeah,
super
this
fine.
is what Dyrus is doing. And
Yeah. And so for what is kind of these like formative, adventurous years of my life, League is just a constant backdrop. Like every time I went to a new town, every time I went to a new city, I'd find out, I'd be like, who around here plays League, or who wants to meet up and play League or something like that. And so after a long time, it started that I was getting really good at predicting what balance changes would happen. Like my friends, it would be like, we'd be watching like IEM at like 3 in the morning, because this is back when those were the only tournaments. And they'd be like, oh, Sivir and Vlad are so broken. They're just going to get nerfed. I don't even want to learn Vlad. And I was like, no, you can learn Vlad because they're probably just going to nerf the E's health cost stacking thing. And then lo and behold, that'll happen. And that happened enough times. Someone was like, you should like apply to this thing, because all you ever talk about is the like theory behind League of Legends.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll try it. It seems like a long shot, because I didn't have any experience. And so, I sent in an app. They were like, we appreciate your enthusiasm. You've never had any experience. You're probably not going to get the job. And I was like crushed. They were like, oh, we'll send you like a test. And I was like, okay, cool. And then apparently I aced the test, and then I kept going. And every time I felt like I was like, they're just going to tell me I'm not making it. They're just going to tell me I'm not going to make it. Oh, God. Oh,
they're gonna
Lord.
let you down.
Yeah, they'll let me down
put you out in
easy.
the
And then they were
backyard,
like, do you want to
and
come
then-
to LA? You want to come hang out? And I was like, all right, I'll do that. And then I went and had my hella interview boss rush gauntlet, and then that happened.
Wow.
Yeah, so I know it's like way more than anyone ever wanted to hear about that story.
Okay,
there
but
it is.
you traveled across the country. Like, so I have a friend that is an environmental artist. He's from Indiana.
Yeah?
And he has been, this will lead to my question.
Go for it.
He is
Your friend?
he's a gamer, same thing. But I
Cool.
guess giving advice to one that wants to pursue the video game industry, production of a video game.
Right.
I don't know how to get him out from Indiana to like pursue his dream, because I've even asked Husky StarCraft to make a video
Yeah.
to be like, there's nothing in Indiana to make a video game, like there's no top-notch video game companies.
Sure.
What was the drive for you? Like what will make him come to California?
Well, so I'm gonna take a step back and be like, I don't think you have to come to California.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff here. There's a lot of good stuff in Texas. A lot of good stuff in Washington. Like, certainly, if you ever want to be part of the games industry, relocation will have to be your thing, right? I think what's more important though is that you are constantly grinding and getting the skills that you want, either by because maybe your friend can help out with an indie project online, right? Like he can hook up with some people that are trying to do some work on Steam and be like, yeah, I can work remote, right? I can do something like that, right? I think one thing is people are just like, I'm gonna go work at games industry. And then when they have no experience, like I didn't have any design experience, but I had a lot of competitive background in gaming, and I had a lot of knowledge of gaming that at least, was able to help me kind of get in. But these days, everyone and their mother wants to get into the games industry. If you want that, and it's something that you really, really have passionately in your soul, you need to find it to say, this is how I'm going to be different. This is how I'm going to put in extra work, or how I'm going to show that I'm committed. And personally, when I see that kind of stuff, like that is the highest correlation to people getting hired, at least at my company, to anything, right? It's like, yeah, he's a cool guy or a girl, or maybe they're like have a good personality, but when you talk to them about what they love and what they've done for what they love, you always see that. It's just clear, white hot passion. That is what the games industry is to me.
Tips and tricks and 101 to joining Riot, right? That's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that. Play League of Legends. Have heard of League of Legends before.
No.
Be smart and passionate.
You don't talk about the game.
Yeah.
That's the rule, right? Like that's how you get in. That's the mind trick, right?
You're like, hi, I'd like a job. I've never heard of what you do. I'll be like, okay, yeah, well, go take a seat, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, you talk about your drive in the competitive scene.
Sure.
Your drive to be part of the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
You actually participated in the collegiate scene as an analyst.
Yes. Yeah, that just happened. Yeah, the NACC. You're like, participate in the collegiate scene. Spoiler alert, I dropped out of college 3 times. So I was like, tried and failed. I'd be like the team coast of the collegiate scene. Is that what that is? Keep losing, keep getting back in, keep losing.
So bad.
Keep getting relegated.
Yeah,
I got relegated from college. That's what I'm saying. No.
By the way, like, a side note, I was hanging out with Brian Cordry, and he pulled out his card. It was a Velocity card.
Whoa. Shout out to Velocity, man.
Speaking of relegation.
Shout out to Valrose.
That's
hey,
where.
Velocity was never relegated.
I guess.
Velocity turned into evil geniuses that turned into Winter Fox that then got relegated.
Even
So in the end, they couldn't escape death, is what I'm saying. Relegation comes for us all one day. But no, to answer your question, getting back to it, yeah, the NACC was a really, really fun experience. Michael Sherman is the guy on the NA community team he's kind of like heading the whole event. Mm-hmm. Before he worked at Riot, he was big in Ivy Law. I think he is like one of the founders of Ivy Law, actually, or he was like a big coordinator for it. And so this meant a lot to him, and he approached me and was like, hey, we have a spot on the analyst desk. You're going to be working with people from EU LCS. We're going to work with Sifa. He's a guy from the collegiate scene. He casts a lot of those tournaments, right, and things like that. Would you be down? I was like, oh, of course. That seems awesome. And I felt bad because I was like really busy that week. So I'm in this like Skype room where everyone's like, oh, here's all the stats on RMU. Here's all the stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I got to write some stuff. I got to do work, man, you know. And then I hung out with Sifa for kind of the last couple days of it, and we kind of broke it down. It was really cool seeing, especially how like Dash leads the desk, and kind of how that background discussion goes. Like we all got into a room, got our markers out, took all the information that we knew about the teams, kind of dumped them out, and saw like, where are the stories, right? You know, we're not making this stuff up when it comes to the esports scene. It's like, what is there, right? And so like, oh, RMU versus, I think it was UConn, the David and Goliath story, right? Or like this team, it was Texas A&M versus UBC.
Like I love the contextual stories. That's
yeah. Like, you know, the UBC, who ended up going on to win the whole thing, it's like, oh, this team really prefers team fighting and strategy play. This team has a challenger mid laner and just tries to style on you, right? It's like, how are they going to compete and how is that going to work? And I kind of liked how uneven the whole thing was. You'd see some stomps, you'd see some good plays, versus where Challenger scene, LCS, you kind of expect like a consistent level. Everyone's at least kind of talking about the same thing, even if they're not playing the same skill level. So yeah, anyways, TLDR was a whole ton of fun. I got to learn a lot. But in the end, just being able to break down games was super cool.
Mm-hmm. You're in the production side of things at Riot. Are you going to join the analyst, like, would you want to join the analyst desk in LCS, or are you going to be dipping your feet over into the esports side of it?
It's tough to say. I mean, like, would I want to? I don't know. I really like what I'm doing right now. Like, being able to work as a designer in my past and work with designers now to be like, how can we get that information out to players is still stuff that's super interesting to me. Like, my passion is talking to people, as you can see, because I'm not shutting the hell up. My passion is talking to people. My passion is making games. And so combining that is really cool. At the same time, like while I may not actively seek it out and actively always be trying to do stuff, I cast a lot of like games. We have like internal tournaments at work.
Yeah,
I cast a lot of those
Rumbles.
finals. Yeah, the Rumbles. I cast a lot of those. I've always done kind of this analyst work on stuff. And so if anyone ever said, hey, we might want you to fill in here or there, yeah, I'd love to. It'd be really fun. But I'm not like, oh boy, one day I'm gonna be up there with Riot Jet and Riot Kobe. It's like that's not really.
You gotta live the
100%
dream,
my
though, right? No.
Dog, I'm living the dream. I'm already there. That's someone else's dream, and I'm happy to let them have it. But any way that I can provide value or help anyone else is something I'm down to do.
Okay. What's the average day at Riot for you?
Man, average day at Riot is there's so much stuff that goes on. I would say for us, it's really me and Chris Tom, also known as Pwiff, in the general forever sphere of the internet. He and I work very closely. Our desks are kind of together. We're like behind the whole design team. So like when you get up from our desk, you like see all of it. And it's really us just tracking projects and making sure it's like, hey, what's the status of the patch? Like where are patch notes at? Having a lot of conversations with designers so that we know like, hey, why go this way? Or if we see a change that we think maybe doesn't read well or doesn't make sense, it's like follow up with that person. Because we don't make changes just for perception's sake, right? But like if we're nerfing a character that people don't think is a problem, or we're not nerfing character that people think is a problem, right? We can at least investigate, kind of bark up that tree and be like, hey, so do we have plans for this person soon? Or do you think this is the best way to hit it? What's the story? What's the narrative? What are we trying to tell players? Because I have this belief, as someone that worked in design and now does kind of PR stuff, that we should never be in a position where we're like, oh, nerf the health and armor of something, and then our reasoning should be like, trust us. Like, oh, I swear it's a good idea, right? It's like, it should follow logical reasoning. And if it does, amongst our design community, then we should be able to tell players that as well. We should be able to teach them the way we think and the way that we examine League, and we can learn stuff from them, and they can learn stuff from us too. So yeah, so the average day is a lot of meetings, going in and kind of discussing, because there's so much autonomous work amongst designers that you got to throw everyone into a room and be like, all right, now we're talking about this thing. Now we're talking about that thing, right? And then get a couple games in. Of course, that's like a big deal at work is, always should have playing 1 or 2 games, play tests, things like that. And just having a lot of conversations with a lot of really smart people.
And now to cut you off a little bit right there, you were talking about nerfing and changing things, working with the balance team. Have you ever gotten to the point where it's like, I really hate this champion, and like slip it in and like, oh, I think we should nerf this champion a little bit.
So
I hate 100-0 champions. Let's get rid of the DFG. Have you ever like put your own input where it's like?
Well, so I mean, like
when
when you say my own input, like I give my opinions on what we should do when we have like our planning sessions and stuff for where that will go. But in the same way that I'm saying we should have logical reasons for why we nerf things, right? That should follow through in everything that we do. So if I wanted to say, like, let's nerf Riven, for instance, right? We're not just going to do that because I said so or because, like, a boss man comes in and says, you should nerf Riven. Like, that's never how we've done things. This is not how we'll do things, right? Similarly, we're not just going to do it because X character is popular or X character is unpopular, right?
Or not in the competitive scene.
Our values that we have, like, meaningful choices, trade-offs, counterplay, clarity, like we have a number of these kind of design pillars, and if things are starting to validate, or rather I'm saying violate those, that's something that's worth investigation. So it may be like, hey, this character doesn't have good gameplay or has a couple interactions that feel really unhealthy, like I would say, like when LeBlanc had her silence, it felt like this, right? LeBlanc's win rate was never very high, right? But the way that she would interact with you in lane removes options, right? You cannot fight against that when she's doing that. That clearly breaks some of the things that we hold dear. And so that was something that got nerfed, right? If that makes sense, is we always kind of follow those reasonings and those things to make sure that we're guiding the game in a good direction. It's never like, oh, I just lost to a boo-boo, let's toss it a nerf, right? It's like, but we play the game too, so if you're playing against something overpowered, we'll probably lose to it, just the nature of the game, right? But that's never like the driving factor.
Okay. Now that you actually are the host of the patch rundown, you write all of it, right? Like you've written the 3-page essay of what's coming on patch 5.9 or whatever, all the changes. That's you.
So I would say it's me and Chris. We when it comes to patch notes, I am usually the one writing the champion context. So when you're reading the champ changes, those are that. He kind of takes the other side of it. So, but we all check each other's work and kind of collaborate. No one person is owning the patch anymore. I would say like maybe around like 4.15. So I guess this is like September of last year. He used to do it solo, and it was like crushing him. So once I joined the team, I was like, all right, I'll take over. We'll see if we can't kind of remove some of that load. But then when it comes to the rundown as well, we have a meeting where we get in and we're like, okay, here's the list of all the stuff that's happening. Here's what we think is most important, or what we think is maybe the most contentious, right? And we don't always land it because hindsight is 2020, right? People will be like, why didn't you talk about that one 50 gold change to this thing that ended up being a really big deal, right? And it's like, well, honestly, we didn't think it was that huge. But things like DFG's removal, the addition or inclusion of Cinderhulk, right? These are things that we think are going to be very disruptive or possibly contentious around the game. And so having conversations about those is going to end up being that. But I would say the writing aspect of them is it's more collaborative than anything. It is very rare at Riot that anyone does something 100% solo, even if they take like maybe a full or partial responsibility.
Okay. When you're like writing it, it's a little bit in the patch notes. There's a little bit of Easter eggs in there.
Yeah.
So
I would say more than a little bit. That is like
there's
the highlight of my week.
But there's jokes, and is that what drives you, or?
I wouldn't say it's what drives me, but it certainly makes it less boring. Because sometimes you're like, oh, writing patch notes, that sounds like it'd be fun, and it's like, yeah, we have 35 changes this patch. It's due tomorrow. Get to it, right? Like it sounds less fun at that point.
What interests me about the patch notes is it's interesting. It makes me want to read the huge line of text and find these Easter eggs. What's your favorite joke inside the patch notes?
There's a couple. I was thinking about this last night because I was like, what do I really want? So there's one in the recent patch that I really liked. So my favorite are what I call the flavor texts, which is they're in the changes themselves, because it's like, you'll be like, attack damage goes up, AP goes down, right? But then there's some things that we add or take away that never had a name. And so like when Ash's gold on minion kill got removed, it was labeled frozen assets.
I wish that was still.
Which I felt like I nailed that joke. Chris always gets mad because I put in some of the worst puns I think are funny. Like came in like a hecking ball for Hecarim.
Came in like a hecking ball.
For Graves is more bang for your buckshot.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of like really awesome, really bad jokes. And in terms of it, it's just like the humor of it is sometimes what I think makes it really fun to write, because we're really focused on context, right? Like we don't always expect players to agree with why a change is being made, right? That's just the game, right? But we want people to be understanding. We want them to know why this is happening, and then call us on it. If you think that isn't why it should be or whatever, do that. But sometimes it gets so serious as being like, writing these day in, day out and kind of going for it, that there's something like in 5.5, there's like a Sona buff, and I wrote like, what a time to be alive, to like jab at like the people who are like, Soda never gets buffed. Or there's like we like nerfed the hell out of Kassadin, like his Riftwalk was super bad. And then I think the patch line was like, unlike Kassadin, we went a little too far last patch. And I was like, hey. Yeah, so like anytime to like add in jokes that I can, it's super fun. And Chris and I just crack each other up, like, we're like super straight faced, how are we gonna make this context? And then someone's like, but like, can I put a Miley Cyrus reference in there though? And he's like, okay, do it.
Have you ever had a point where you couldn't publish a joke? Like, is there one that is not on the radar?
No, never for any reason like political correctness, I don't think. It's honestly a more boring answer. It's because like we publish this in all regions, and so even when I say things like for Ragnarok, like Olaf, his Ragnarok got buffed, and so his line was for those about to rock, and it's like that's an AC/DC reference, which like honestly most of our players that are English speaking wouldn't get, because they are all super young. But then it's like, Spain and Turkey are gonna be like, the hell is this? Like, what is, so it's like,
You have to accommodate for them at least, right?
Well, so
do you throw in the German jokes? Do you throw
no,
in any Asian jokes
the
in there?
people that localize the patch notes usually do that themselves, right?
Okay.
They'll kind of look through and they'll be like, we'll rephrase or we'll rewrite things so that it feels more culturally appropriate for them,
gotcha.
right? So that's why I don't care about it too much. But sometimes you're just like, that doesn't even make sense in another language. You can't do that, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's my bad.
Right. One of the biggest additions that are coming very soon, Ekko.
Yeah, dude.
Please, I've seen him.
Oh, he's gonna kill the shit out of you. You play AD carries, bruh. Get rigged.
Oh my God! Another champion that
Let's
looks
go.
like it's gonna 100-0. And I saw a video that he backs and he can return to his ultimate, something like that.
Yeah.
And he can deal even more damage.
Yeah. So the whole backing ult thing is like kind of neat. We tested that a lot internally. It's not as good as you might think, right? I mean, it's okay. It's a lot of damage and the cooldown is not that low on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So using it to just get back to your tower is like, oh, okay, that's not that good, right? You know, at that point, just take teleport so you can still kill people with chrono break. Like, it does so much damage. But no, he does much less damage than the average assassin, honestly.
Yeah.
Because a lot of his damage is hidden in like his 3-hit passive, and then he has an ability on his kit that doesn't do damage at all. And then chrono break itself is also very difficult to use. Like, you can't just be fighting me and I'll be like, I'm gonna go back in time, and then I teleport somewhere the hell else and can't hurt you or anything, right? So he's kind of what we've been calling, like, put a little spin on it, he's been calling a skirmishing assassin, which is like,
how do you fit this guy in the meta? Like,
well, yeah. So to go off that, I would say he feels a little like a Kali to me, like a little less of the diving and stickiness and a little more of the utility.
so not viable.
Yeah, wow, oof. Dude, she's back this patch. I'm telling you, I've been spamming a Kali. She's really good. But his W, right, provides a team stun if you get it off, which is really difficult because the enemies don't see where it is, so you have to like mind game them into going into it, and then you need to be in it as well. And because of that level of power and because of his ability to slow from really long range, these are tools that we gave him so that he doesn't just have to explode you, right? Because one of the troubles when we were making Ekko was like, how do we make an assassin feel different from Zed or Kha'Zix, right? These characters have interesting things they do, right? Like I play with shadows or I evolve, but the end result is I murder you and get out, right? So for Ekko, it was like, well, let's give him some tools to affect a team fight that you'd be like, oh, I want an Ekko on my team because he's going to help me, right? And then I'm going to help him do the damage that he needs to get out. Mm-hmm. There's certainly moments when you get like cool combos off with chrono break that it looks disgusting, but I would say on average, his damage spike is much lower.
Okay. I know that we always have guests on that are always in the league scene. We're usually pro players. You're actually the first Rioter to be on the show, but you actually are somewhat part of the community of the Smash scene.
Yeah. I've been a big Smash player since like, God, forever. I don't know, like in like 2006, I was always playing Melee with my friends, and you know, I was never as serious into it. I got a little serious towards the beginning of Brawl, in both games, Melee and Brawl. And I remember my house in Alabama, we had this big party. I called it the Brawl Nighter, where we played 12 hours of Melee and 12 hours of Brawl. Because basically we had like everyone from the neighborhood, everyone from school. So it was like 20 people in my house, like 6 setups. It was just a big Smash Fest of everyone playing Melee.
I've only seen like the gifs of people doing like the 8-player of the newest Smash.
Oh yeah. No, I mean this was just 4-player because it's still Melee. But yeah, we would have everyone come in and play, and then we all took a break, went to the midnight release of Brawl, got it, brought it back, and then did 20 people playing Brawl for 12 hours, right? And like unlocking all the shit like frequently and stuff. It's always been a big part of my life, and I really love the hell out of that game. And so when I started Riot and a lot of the other games and other things I did died down because I got so invested in work and, you know, was clearly playing League a whole ton, and I heard the new one was coming out, I was like, I'm gonna play the shit out of this game. And so I started, you know, I had been kind of reconnecting with Melee. I'd been to MLG Anaheim during the summer of Smash last year, you know, really starting to get more into that scene. This one came out and playing that, been traveling to tournaments, went to Apex. I'm actually, probably by the time this airs, I will be in Australia. I'm leaving for Australia next Tuesday to go for a Smash tournament in Melbourne. And yeah, it's a really big passion of mine.
It's just allowing you to go venture on to another.
Yeah, I mean, well,
game.
it's something you gotta like clear with your managers and shit, right? Like I'm not just like, hey, I got work to do, bounce. It's like everyone knows I've been planning it, so I've done a bunch of work before. I'm saving a bunch of work after. But it relatively, yeah, they're just like Riot is not some controlling titan that is just like you can never have fun or go do anything you want, right?
Yeah, you are living your dream, I guess, right? What I'm getting at is, are there any more aspirations for you as doing your job and as a gamer?
Yeah, man. So it's certainly a dream job, right? It's certainly a dream situation, right? Like once I got the job, I was telling my friends it felt like I'm on New Game Plus, right? It's like I already kind of beat the game and now I'm doing it over again. No, but there's always aspirations. Like I'm not the kind of person.
Interesting analogy, by the way. That's New Game Plus. Yeah.
I'm never the kind of person that wants to like just chill or rest or really sit on that kind of stuff. So whether it's in gaming, like I want to become a ranked Smash player, right? Like that's a thing. Or I want to win this or I want to reach that level or something like that. Even professionally, right? It's like I want to do a lot of things that I probably will not discuss here with design communication in the future, right? Like I want to help make our department more transparent, humanize kind of our devs, make people really understand who we are and what we're doing instead of just being like this faceless entity that sometimes sends someone out when like the jungle's wrong, right? It's like, oh, something's wrong. That's when I hear from Riot. It's like, no, like let's create more ways for two-way communication, more ways for people to talk to us, more ways for us to talk to them, And so I think I'm a very goals-oriented person. So yeah, probably not slowing down anytime soon, but I'm always changing. I'm always looking for different things I can do or different ways I can invest my time.
Interesting, because like I feel like I am the type of person that has a hamster wheel, just going and going.
This is why you're not very good at League of Legends.
Hey, at least I'm kind of moving forward, but staying in play. Anyways, what's your motivation to keep you going here? Like what do?
I don't know. It's a little bit of a weird thing to talk about, I guess. It's like there's a lot of motivations. One is like I am from Alabama and I have made it out here, and so it's like being one of the people from my hometown to have escaped, right? Is like you like keep going. But there's also the long period where I was kind of couch surfing and traveling and hoboing around, right? Like a lot of really amazing people helped me and let me stay places, cook me food, hung out. It's like it was really a touching experience that I don't think I can have anything else like, right? And so to be on things like Analyst Desk, right, or to do voiceover for videos, or to host a show like The Rundown, right, to show the people that helped me and invested time in me that it's paying off, that it's worth it, right, that I am now able to turn back and give something out greater is like, that's a big deal for me. I don't want to be like, hey, thanks for all the time you spent helping me. I'm just going to waste away and be useless and provide no value, right? Like that's not the life I'm trying to live. And I hope it's not reflecting. I hope I can just continue doing things to make people happy.
Inspiring. Very inspiring.
I mean, I guess, bro.
Okay, also, I've been like staring at you for so long. And
Wow.
I've been meaning to ask.
Yes.
How long does this, because this takes me forever.
Yeah.
Like this right here.
Yeah, I understand. Honestly, you should get rid of that because it looks like lint is on your chin, like a little bit.
Yeah, I got that a lot too.
It's not really good.
It's not working with the ladies.
I'm surprised
either.
your friends like tolerate it.
I'm surprised I even have friends.
Yeah, honestly, same. Yeah, no, this is probably about like 4 days.
4 days?
Yeah. Well, because this is the thing. This is the thing. Is
21
like,
years.
It's like you wouldn't know this, but like having a beard is like being a Saiyan warrior. It's like when you shave it off, it just grows back faster and stronger the next time. So it's like
I'm Krillin then, right?
Yeah.
I'm Krillin.
Yeah, you die so that I become Super Saiyan. That's what Krillin is. That's what that means.
Holy shit.
Krillin is always in danger, and then people are like,
how do people find you on social media?
Wow, how do they find me on social
Yeah.
media? So I'm on Twitter at Riot Scarizard, right? Down to talk with anyone about most anything, right? I'm down to,
Hey, you're down to talk with me.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
pretty low.
That says a lot,
That-
right?
yeah.
That is honestly, this place was not down the street. I would not have come. Shout outs to public
Holy
transit.
shit.
But no, I mean, if someone follows me, sometimes I try to keep it official, but then sometimes it's gonna be me like tweeting pictures of stomping on nerds with Nocturne and stuff. Like it's much less. It's a silly thing, but if you ever want information about anything, I can help. That is the thing I can do.
Fair enough. Any shout outs?
Yeah, dude. Shout outs to Nocturne. Shout outs to Scion. Shout outs to my homeboy Jesus. Shout outs to Riot Games. Shout outs to @LOL Esports. Shout out to @League of Legends. Shout out to the squad, the team, Riot Games. Shout out to Live Gameplay. Shout out to Michael Artris for driving me here today.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Burritos.
Is that what we're doing
Yeah,
afterwards?
we're about to get burritos.
I don't like burritos.
Yeah, well, we can leave you. Shout out to Rob Lee for having me on this dumbass
Aw.
show.
So honored. I fucking hate these planes.
I mean, you filmed by the airport, bro. What do you want?
I didn't know.
It's like,
Anyways.
they're not gonna take off, are they?
If you want any more content just like this, be sure to check out SK Gaming on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. I want to hear what they want to, whatever. Anyways.
Peter's gonna be like, never have him back again.
Nah.
That's the comment.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of here.
See you later.
All right,
Till
goodbye,
next time,
goodbye
guys.
forever.